I swapped the development from some of the richest provinces in the world to some of the poorest provinces in the world. As long as it is colonized in 1444, the development is likely to have changed. Paris is now a rural backwater, with the Pripyat marches of Lithuania thriving, putting them in the number 2 spot for great powers. And that is only naming a couple of the crazy changes that this mod brings. As usual, the mod is linked in the description if you want to check it out, and while you are down there, consider checking out the Patreon for early access to all of the videos that come out on this channel. Also, I am pushing for 20,000 subs by the end of the year, so consider subscribing for more content to come. Aside from the natives being gone, like we usually do, the world is going to look exactly the same with this map mode enabled. So when we switch over to this one, that's when things start to look a little interesting. Uncolonized provinces are all going to be exactly the same, but any province that has a nation living within it is going to have different development in 1444. In fact, they've actually been reversed. Any province that had high development had its development taken from them and given to a province with low development. So provinces like Constantinople are going to have 3 development. Yeah, 3. Same with Rome, same with Paris, London, Copenhagen, Stockholm, all of them 3 development. So when we take a look at the great powers of the world, Ming, who starts with over 1,000 development in 1444 in vanilla, is all the way down to 680, still in the number 1 spot because there's just so much development in that area. But take a look at number 2, Lithuania. I love this. The Mamluks in 3, with the Timurids in 4th, Denmark in 5th, with the Ottomans all the way down in 6th place with 270 development, followed by England and then Oirat, who, if they embraced institution, would actually be up in the 4th slot. So areas in the beginning that have lower development, like Ireland or the more rural parts of the British Isles, have a lot of development now. Whereas the very highly developed areas like France and northern Italy are backwaters. Same with China. It's all desolate there on the coast. All the development is on the interior for the most part. And of course, you guys know how we figure this all out. We hit up to speed 5 and we unpause. Ignore these top 2 because these are spoils of war, but you can see nations like the Ming making 40 ducats per month, with the Mamluks all the way down at 30. But Lithuania up here making 25 as well. Quite a bit of income, allowing them to have a massive army of 40,000 that is sadly going to be utilized by their overlord of Poland. Though 41% disloyalty, one bad war and Poland loses them. And 40 some years in, things have definitely taken a turn. France started out strong and then attacked into the empire, got absolutely demolished. And then England swept in, who is already doing well on their own regards, and took some land from France. Naples and the Pope Man doing very good over here in Italy. Tunis apparently doing good in Iberia. Hungary partitioned between a few different nations, my favorite of which is Sicily. We've got many different tags over here in Russia competing for dominance at the moment, as do we in China as well, because Ming fallen apart. At the same time, the Timurids have integrated every single one of their subjects and are pushing towards Delhi. We might see a Mughals here very soon. Turns out, switching all the development of all this terrible garbage desert lands actually does pretty good for a nation. Same with over here in Tunis. These are all like 12 and 13 dev provinces just in the interior of the desert. Hilarious. That's awesome. I love it. Something I feel like you don't see very often, Ayutthaya was actually destroyed by Khmer and Lanzhang of all people. And in India, Bengal doing well. No surprise there, but it actually looks like Jaunpur has fallen apart. Malwa, Bahmanis, and Vijay are the other major powers of the subcontinent. Africa, still trying to figure out what's going on down in the south and over here in the east, but the Mamluks are all the way down bordering Ethiopia, very early as well. Central Africa, some border changes, but nothing really serious, but Dahome's still hanging out. So the Reformation is underway, and boy, it's pretty spread out. We've got Reform down here in Foix, a Reformation center over here in Sealy, a Protestant center in Wales, and one up here in Norway. So yeah, safe to say we're probably going to see a lot of conversions. And some time has passed, and it actually looks like the British managed to squash the center of Reformation over here in Montgomery. Though it does appear that Reformed is continuing to march forward here in southern France, as well as southern Carpathia/Croatia. Northern Germany also converting quite a bit, but, you know, we'll see if it can persist. Politically, there has definitely been a bit of stuff happening. Great Britain dominating in France, pushing France into Iberia, as well as kind of like Burgundy area. The lowlands being dominated by East Frisia, of all places. Austria doing quite well, but little enclave of Moravia. Naples has formed the Two Sicilies, which is A very nice formable. I appreciate it quite a bit. And it looks like Tunisian Iberia is a thing, with them also having the Balearic Isles and these Mediterranean Isles over here. Commonwealth has formed and is currently dominating the Ottomans. And the Mughals has also formed, and they are looking extremely powerful. Japan is united, Korea is united, and China kind of united. Oirat dominating the north and Yu dominating the south. It looks like our pirate friends over here in Palembang are trying to set up shop in Sumatra. And of course, the colonial game has begun with Portugal and Brazil, as well as Rio de Prata. They also have one province up here in the Delta area. The West Indies are all Castilian, as is Mexico and Louisiana. We do have a red tag up here, but it is not Britain, it is Denmark. And Newfoundland has been founded by the Norwegians. The Norwegians, who are currently getting clapped by the British. So maybe the British will go colonial eventually anyways. 1614, few things have changed. The natural borders of France have finally been realized. Do you guys remember, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago maybe? Oh, geez, it's been a while. There was a Reddit post about the natural borders of France, and it was like a screenshot of this. And it actually showed up whenever you Googled the natural borders of France as like the reference image. Super funny. Austria dominating in Germany, taking a little bit here and a little bit there. The Commonwealth is absolutely massive, with a Sapmi in the north and a Rostov over here. They're currently in the process of destroying the Long Ottomans, of whose border with the Mamluks hasn't changed at all in like 100 plus years. But I spy a couple of provinces down here that are occupied by the Knights. It looks like we might see some colonies for the Knights. Tunis has mostly been pushed out of Iberia, but they do remain on one province. And the Mughals continue to dominate, taking up most of the development in northern India and well over into China. It appears that they have crossed paths with the Oirat and made them pay. Korea making Japan hurt a little bit. Looks like they may be able to push them out of Japan. How funny would it be if Japan got exiled to like China or Taiwan or something like that? Palembang continuing to do well, pushing Malacca out of Malacca. We've got some colonial stuff going on for Spain down here, but not sure what this is all about. And while we're on the topic of colonization, it looks like South America is almost exclusively Portuguese, as well as California and other parts of the West Coast. Castile dominating in Mexico, Louisiana, Florida, and the West Indies. We do, however, have a very blessed Icelandic Chesapeake. And sadly, it looks like the Norwegian colony's time is coming to an end very soon. The British are coming. So taking a look at the Great Powers list, with about 200 years left, Castile is in the #1 spot, but I don't think that's for long. Most people will just need to embrace the institution, and they will very quickly overtake them. Commonwealth is in second place, though they should actually be second place to the Mughals instead of Castile. Followed by the Mamluks, still doing quite well, with Great Britain, the Mughals, as I said, Portugal, because of their colonial territories, the Ottomans, still a great power even after getting absolutely bonked multiple times, and then Austria with under 500 dev in the 8th spot. I didn't see this before, but Oirat is actually the Emperor of China. Obviously, that's a net negative for them. I don't know why they wanted to be it, but they are the Emperor. Imperial authority is still tanking, no surprise. The HRE has been going through some religious turmoil. However, Catholic is the official faith of the HRE, hence why Austria is still in power and has a bunch of land all over the place, probably taking it from heretics, if I had to guess. Because, yeah, there's not really that many heretics left. Protestants have basically just been pushed up here into Sapmi and Norway, and then Reformed is just a couple of speckles here and there, but it's mostly Catholic. Heck, even Great Britain under Empress Margaret Lancaster has decided to stay Catholic this time around. Sadly, it looks like East Frisia has been dominated. They had all this land, they had their chance, and they blew it. We do have a formidable Franconia, which is cool. We also have a Lusatia who has been released with a very cool looking unit model. I wonder which pack that is from. But as far as Italy goes, the borders look almost exactly the same as they did last time I looked. 100 years left in the game. Let's take a look. Great Britain's borders now go past the Rhine River into Germany. The Pope man has kicked Two Sicilies out of Italy to be the hegemon of Italy. The Two Sicilies is a one-province minor down here in Alicante, and they're actually a subject under Castile. The HRE continues to get the squeeze put on it between Great Britain and probably the biggest Commonwealth I have ever seen. The Commonwealth has expanded quite a bit down into Anatolia, but so has the Mamluks, and into the Balkans, for that matter, because these Mamluks are massive. Just look at the absolute size of this unit, which is honestly nothing when you consider the Mughals here taking over all of China, 90% of India, the steppes, all the way into Iran. Massive, massive growth. Korea experienced the rise before the fall, and they're now a shell of what they once were. They used to be massive. I don't know what happened to them. But if I had to guess, they ran into a buzzsaw. Southeast Asia is a bit of a mixed bag. We have a very strong Palembang over here. Borneo is still pretty decentralized. Majapahit is working their way up into the Philippines and that sort of thing. Dutch Malaccas over here, trying to set up that Dutch East Indies before it's too late. Australia and New Zealand are both Spanish colonies. And as we saw before, South America is Portuguese. North America is a bit of a different story, though. We've got Portugal in the west, Spain/Castile in the south and the east, and then Iceland sharing up in the north with Britain. Though I have to say, Norway with their capital in Connecticut is my favorite thing I've seen so far today. Songhai and Kilwa control most of the majority in sub-Saharan Africa, and the Congo is no longer in the Congo, but it's still the Congo, I guess, right? We have Icelandic Guinea right next to Dutch Guinea, but it looks like Dutch Guinea is probably going to be under new management before too long. The Castilians and the Portuguese split at 50-50 for South Africa. And taking a look at these great powers, leave a comment below and let us know, who do you think will be number 1, 2, and 3 at the end? Right now, we've got the Commonwealth with the Mughals, Castile, Great Britain, Portugal, the Mamluks, Kilwa, actually, and then Pope Man in the 8th spot. Economic hegemon of the world, 50% stacked up, is Great Britain. 1821, the best year in the game. Portugal decided to choose violence, taking land from Castile, splitting it with England, of all people. Meanwhile, losing a province to Colombia, their former subject. Spain even released Galicia. So yeah, you know that they definitely were having a bad go at it. However, not having a bad go at it, revolutionary Great Britain. More on that in a moment. The HRE still exists in what capacity I can't really speak to, but it does still exist. Pope Man ended up getting dominated by a bunch of different people, but my favorite one is Ragusa. Where is the Commonwealth's name, you may ask? In Siberia, of course, where their lands touch from sea to shining sea. Mughals ended up going entirely beast mode, taking over all of India minus one province, all of China, all of Southeast Asia, all of Manchuria, and most of Korea, and even parts of Japan. Heck, these dudes even took some land in the Philippines, so you know they meant business. All the way down into Sumatra, and they even have some land in Java as well as the Spice Islands. Honestly, guys, I'm in love with how aggressive the AI is in this patch. It is the best. I love it. It's really good for my videos as well, so there's that. The Mamluks ended up taking a bit of a tumble, losing land all the way down in the Horn of Africa, Nubia, Syria, all over the place. Kilwa maintained their dominance over in this area and even pushed the Portuguese out of South Africa. In the south of America, however, we do have Colombia and Brazil independent, with the rest of the continent under the jurisdiction, let's say, of the European powers. We also have an independent Cuba and an independent Mexico. Cuba, the nation's so nice that they named it twice. 3 times, if you include Puerto Rico over here. We also have an independent Florida and an independent United States, but the United States has lost a bunch of land to Cuba. We always joke that Miami is a Cuban colony here in America, but in this case, it literally is. Newfoundland and Portuguese Cascadia, as well as California, remain subjects of the crowns, though. Though I can't really say crowns because, yeah, we have a revolutionary republic over here. Edith Saunders. That's a good name. This flag, though, I hate it. And I know I'll inevitably get comments saying, well, actually, it's historically accurate because they used this flag during a revolution in, like, the 1700s for like 4 days. I don't care, Jimmy. Nobody cares. The birthplace of the revolution is Chester here in England, with the revolution spreading the entirety of Europe almost, minus Eastern Europe, all the way into North Africa, even random provinces over here in Asia, and a bit of Eastern Africa for good measure. It does also have a presence over here in South America, as well as a large presence up here in North America. And the religious map mode is definitely an interesting one. Orthodox exists, but there's no Orthodox nations. Every province in the world that is Christian is either Catholic, Reformed up here, Protestant over here, and that's it. It's all Sunni over here. Definitely a bit of conversion going on by the Mughals. They even converted some of the provinces down here in India, which you don't see too often. There is a couple of Sikhs over here, which I always think that's cool. Sikh is a really interesting religion. I was looking at the religious map mode of Australia saying, wait a minute, why is there Sunni lines on there? And that's because the entire continent is occupied by the Mughals. We have good old Mamlukian Indonesia over here, very sweet. And the fetishists have been overrun by Islam. We do still have a Coptic Ethiopia, which is very nice to see. But the New World, aside from a couple random provinces and the native religions, are all Catholic except for Protestants up here in Canada. Culturally, nothing new to see here. The entirety of North and South America is Iberian culture, Brazilian, Portuguese. And you guessed it, Portuguese up here with Mexicans and Castilians here in the heartlands. We have English up here in Canada, and for good measure, a couple of Nordic cultures here, specifically Icelandic over here, which I really appreciate. And another one that I really appreciate would be the culture of Scandinavia, specifically the Finnish part of Scandinavia. Swedish culture has been relegated to one province on Gotland. The British converted all of France to Frankian culture and Occitan in the south, and the Poles pushed the Austrians out of Austria as well as the Hungarians out of Hungary. They also pushed the Pomeranians out of Pomerania, so yeah, they're really good at that apparently in this timeline. At some point I assume that Korea took over the mandate because Sino-Korean is a new one. Basically all the Korean provinces get converted into this culture, which is part of the Chinese group. It's pretty sweet, I like it. The great powers of the world, no surprise at all, the Mughals with almost 7,000 development, followed by the Commonwealth with a little over 5. Great Britain with 4,700, and Portugal way down with 2,000, with Songhai following them pretty strong as well. Kilwa doing good as well, competing with Songhai for the hegemony of Africa. Mexico in the 7th place, and the Mamluks in 8th. Despite getting absolutely demolished in the end, the Mamluks still come out as a great power. Economic hegemon of the world, 0 points towards it, but it is Great Britain, well, revolutionary Great Britain. And military hegemon of the world, almost fully stacked, is the Commonwealth. So what do you guys think? Do you think that changing up development had a great impact on the game? You can see here that even though they lost a lot of it, basically every single province in Italy has 30 or more dev, which is nuts. France also doing quite good. Basically every single province is 10 or 11 dev. London ended up with 50 development, even though it started with 3, so that's respectable. Constantinople finished only with 30, so that's a thing. Paris with a respectable 20 development. In Toledo over here with 46. China's development remained mostly the same from what I can tell, as did India's, though Delhi with a decent 35 development. But just look at all this development in the Arabian sands. It's super funny to me to see this all green and yellow like that. As with Sub-Saharan Africa, extremely developed. 38 development right here. That's crazy. So that's about it for this one. Guys, I do have a goal of hitting 20,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you haven't already subscribed, you definitely should, because there is tons of content that you're going to be missing out on if you're not. If you enjoyed the video, make sure that you like it and share it with a friend if you know somebody who you think will enjoy it as well. If you want early access to videos like this, you can check out my Patreon linked in the description below the video. If you want to join my Discord, my subreddit, or follow me over on my Twitter, those things are all linked in the description below the video as well. But that is all I've got for you for today. Till next time, stay chill.